Hi, I'm Lena Rao here for TechCrunch TV. We have LinkedIn CEO Backstage with us, Jeff Weiner. Welcome. Nice to be here.
Thank you for having me.
So you weren't, that wasn't too painful with Mike out there.
No, hardly. It was great.
But one thing that Mike did bring up was the IPO, and it's something that was the subject of a lot of conversation yesterday. We had a panel with some VCs, and they were saying that LinkedIn is one of the sort of hot IPOs or possible hot IPOs over the next year. It's definitely out there, the fact that that's a possibility. My question is, what needs to be achieved before LinkedIn would consider an IPO? You guys are profitable, 80 million users. What are the benchmarks that you guys will consider as you're progressing towards, if that does happen?
Yeah, it's less about progressing towards an IPO and more about progressing towards our ultimate objective. And that's to connect the world's professionals. And you mentioned the 80 million members that we currently have. We're growing by a member a second, and we think there's still tremendous potential there, because by some measures there's as many as 500 million professionals in the world, and that number is going to continue to grow as developing economies grow. So there's still so much to accomplish. And in order to make that happen, in order for us to realize our end goals, I think an IPO is one potential tactic along that path. The company raised roughly $76 million in a Series D in August of 2008, and all of that money is still in the bank. So very thankfully, we're in a position where we don't need the money, and we have a number of options, and we'll pursue whichever one makes the most sense.
Now, of those 80 million members, how many are active? How many have full profiles that they're updating and using it on a daily basis or weekly basis?
Well, one of the best measures for active usage is the number of unique users we get on a monthly basis. According to ComScore, on a global basis, that's about 53.5 million unique users of the 80 million members, and obviously that number continues to grow.
Interesting. Now, I'm going to ask you a pretty open-ended question here. What keeps you up at night?
I think
you're a CEO of like a huge company, 80 million members, as we said. You've raised a considerable amount of funding, but you're profitable. So maybe the profitable angle doesn't keep you up. But what really keeps you up at night?
Yeah, the operating cash flow profitability that we've achieved over the last couple of years certainly helps us do the things that we want to do. We'll be growing this year. We began the year at about 500 employees. We'll end this year at about 900 plus employees. We recently announced 2 acquisitions, MSpoke and Choice Vendor, over the last 6 weeks. So that operating cash flow certainly enables us to continue to invest in the business. So that's not what I'm losing sleep over. I think for a company in our position with the opportunities we have and our rate of growth, we want to make sure we're managing that growth to the best of our ability. And that means continually focusing on the stuff that matters and making sure we're going to scale. So I mentioned earlier, we're at 80 million members today. We think there's a potential addressable audience of over 500 million folks. And that requires a highly, highly scalable infrastructure, both software and hardware, that's going to be performant, that's going to be available when people want to use it. And ultimately, we want to be so essential to people that we want to be mission critical. We want to be there whenever they want to use LinkedIn. And so focus and scale are really the things that we're very keenly aware of at this point.
You bring up scale, and one of the things that other social platforms like Twitter and Facebook have been to open up their API and allow third-party developers to build off of their platform. And Twitter now has over 50,000 third-party applications. Facebook has something in the number of over 500,000 applications using Facebook Connect. What about LinkedIn? I know you guys opened up your API. How many applications are on there or are using the API currently?
Yeah, so from a platform perspective, there are at least 2 different ways that we approach that. One is by allowing for third-party developers to actually develop within the LinkedIn.com environment, and the other is leveraging our APIs off of LinkedIn. Ultimately, we want the membership to be able to work on LinkedIn no matter where they are. They don't always have to come back to LinkedIn.com or be tethered to their desktop. So in November of last year, we rolled out some standard OAuth APIs. And I can report that we had a 12-month forecast in terms of the number of developers that would be integrating those APIs into their applications and their sites, and we hit that number in 3 months. So it certainly had demand straight out of the gate, and I think in part that was because prior to that, we didn't have that approach, that same kind of openness and scalable effort. And so we ended up seeing enormous demand for APIs and having to do things on a non-scalable basis. So we kind of opened the floodgates there, which was wonderful and certainly part of the objective. And examples of how those APIs are being leveraged are things like Microsoft Outlook, where when someone sends you an email, you can see if you're connected, you can see their status updates, you can connect with them if you're not already connected. Certainly TweetDeck would be another example, Zobni. Those are three of a number of examples of how developers are leveraging those APIs.
Now, Facebook, like what if Facebook starts turning on a professional social network? What if they start doing some things that incorporate a user's professional profile into the way that they interact with fellow members? How are you going to react to that?
Well, we think context matters. Wherever we go in the world, whenever we get out there and we have a chance to talk to customers, talk to our membership, we hear something very similar, which is people want to keep, for the most part, their professional lives and their personal lives separate. Now, some folks are going to have some overlap. They're going to be close friends with people that they work with, understood. But there's something to be said about the value and the relevancy when you have a singular focus in terms of context. All we do is focus on professionals, your professional identity, your professional network, and the sharing of professional information, knowledge, and ultimately professional insights that make you better at what you do.
Well, I have to say, I think LinkedIn's doing a great job on what, trying to tie professionals to each other. I know that it's now more than just the actual professional, it's about the company. And could you speak a little bit to what you're doing for companies now? Because it's going beyond just the member, it's the business as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mentioned earlier our mission is to connect the world's professionals. It's to make them more productive, more successful. Where do professionals work within a company? So ultimately, the more tools we can provide for people within those companies and ultimately to the companies themselves, the more value we can create for our membership. So one example of that is we recently rolled out the next generation version of our company profile platform. And folks may not realize this, but we have over 1 million active company profiles on LinkedIn. And some of these companies are being followed by tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of professionals. So you can see who's joining these companies, who's leaving the companies, you can see who's been promoted at the companies, what jobs are available. And recently we released a new way of seeing insights into the composition of an employee base within a company. If you want to see how much they're investing in R&D or sales and marketing, if you want to see where people in a particular company went to school, or once they've left that company where they're most likely to work down the road. And you're going to see a lot more from us along those lines going forward.
Well, I'll have to go check out AOL's company profile.
Your new company.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely.
That's right. Congratulations.
Well, thanks so much for coming and stopping by, and we hope to talk to you soon and hear more exciting things from LinkedIn.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.